Hello, hello. We are live. Welcome, everybody, to another week of Nansen Office Hours. This is the show where Alex and I dog food our own product for an hour, chat about the latest developments in crypto, and just have fun. So, if you're new here, feel free to ask questions anytime in the chat. Um, just some housekeeping. We have a Discord that anyone can join to ask questions throughout the week. We also have a YouTube channel where we post recaps of these videos. But let's dive right in. Alex, what's the latest in crypto this week?
Bitcoin 20K, the big thing,
Let's
right?
go. LFG.
Finally, 20K in 2020. Feels kind of poetic, I think, that it happened in 2020, right?
I agree. Like right at the end.
Yeah. So that's exciting. A lot of people think that we shouldn't be that preoccupied with price, but obviously price has a lot of very positive trickle down effects. So people who are interested in crypto suddenly have more purchasing power. There's more capital for companies that are building in the space, and so on and so forth. So I think it's really, really positive, and it's exciting to see the whole corporate world getting FOMO at the same time.
Yeah, I completely agree. Having been in the space for the last bull run as well, how does this one feel compared to the last one?
I'd say this one definitely feels more. I mean, it feels more sustainable in a way. I mean, there's like real fundamentals underlying it. Of course, there were fundamentals in 2017, for example, or 2016 too. But it seemed definitely more euphoric back then.
Hmm.
And now there's a very powerful macro narrative with the incredible printing of money that's happening.
Yeah.
So I think that's really the big one for Bitcoin. And there was nothing really like that in 2017. I think 2017 was largely driven by the ICO boom, which was interesting in many ways, but not as sustainable as we know, especially having seen what happened over those months. So this one definitely feels more sustainable on the Bitcoin macro narrative, but there's also the DeFi narrative, which I think is very powerful. And actually, Bitcoin and Ethereum meet in DeFi, right? Through wrapped Bitcoin and so on, which
Hmm.
we'll look at a bit later.
Yeah, yeah, I completely agree. I think this year it really feels like we've gotten product market fit in DeFi, which is a space that we look at extremely closely. It almost feels like Nansen couldn't have existed in a previous year or been useful in a previous year, just because, I mean, what would you have been looking at? Just like ICOs, like people moving their ICO coins around. Like this year, there is actual
Yeah,
usage and a lot of
good question.
excitement on on the Ethereum blockchain.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, the whole DeFi space has really been, you know, developing, I'd say, since 2018 or so. Compound in many ways kind of kickstarted both the original DeFi wave with their protocol, which didn't have any native governance token back at the time, and then they kickstarted the yield farming boom and the DeFi summer with their yield farming program, liquidity mining program. So yeah, there's definitely a lot of DeFi development that's been happening lately, and obviously Nansen benefits from that, and our customers are typically very interested in DeFi.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, let's not wait. Let's not kill any time here. Let's dive right into some of our dashboards and see from a fundamental level what's happening in DeFi, and let's try and find any, I guess, major movements that are tying up with this price action.
Yeah, so I think one thing we discussed a bit last time is this trend of wrapped Bitcoin and what's happening there. So this has been a big story for 2020, the minting of wrapped Bitcoin. But as we noted last time, I think we kind of discovered this live in our last office hours. But this trend has now changed quite a bit, and so wrapped Bitcoin minting pretty much peaked late November and has been going down a bit. And if you drill down to look at, who are the entities that are sort of responsible for this change in trend, you can see that Alameda was massive in minting wrapped Bitcoin back in September and August. They slowed down dramatically in October, also in November, and they've not minted any new wrapped Bitcoin in December. On the contrary, if you scroll down and look at the individual mints and burns, you can see the red rows here that are burn events. So that means they're basically redeeming the underlying Bitcoins from the wrapped Bitcoins. You can see that basically it's Alameda mostly burning lots of wrapped Bitcoin. So over the last, let's say, 10 days, Alameda has been actually redeeming a lot of their underlying Bitcoin. So this is kind of interesting because it makes you wonder, why are they doing that? And I think there's many different reasons they might be doing this, but I think that at a high level, it might indicate that there's better use for their Bitcoins elsewhere. Like there's better returns they can make elsewhere. And this kind of fits the sort of FOMO, institutional FOMO or corporate FOMO narrative we see with Bitcoin now, where Alameda is originally a market maker, right? Or that's one of the things that they do and have done for years now. And so maybe they just see that, the liquidity that they can provide on the native Bitcoin, there's actually more money going to be made there because there's going to be a lot of trading going on the native Bitcoin asset over the next few months.
Right,
so maybe
on centralized exchanges and stuff.
Yeah, exactly. So that could be one reason, right? Could be that they're playing this grayscale ARB or something like that. I don't have any insight into that specifically, but it seems like they've basically peaked on their usage of wrapped Bitcoin, at least for now. And they found, better use for their Bitcoins.
Yeah, I wonder if something like this, like looking at the minting and burning of WBTC, could be a signal for maybe not necessarily that price will move up or down, but just that it potentially will move in a direction. So it's kind of like a long vol type indicator.
Yeah.
Sorry. Go ahead.
I was just going to say that we do have Bitcoin data with Nansen, but we don't display it yet because we want to make sure that we have very high wallet label coverage before we include Bitcoin data. And so that's something that you can expect to see, I'd say early next year, more data on Bitcoin, so the blockchain Bitcoin, in addition to all the Ethereum data we have.
I have a quick feature request here.
Okay.
That I'll make live. Can you scroll up to the minting chart?
This one or this one?
The lower one, the one broken down by minters.
This one. By the merchants.
Right? The merchants, yeah. Can we also get a chart next to this for burns, or maybe a lines below it, so that we can see how much is getting burned in a month?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Let me add that right away, actually, because
right.
it's a good feature.
Yeah, you're still and then the second question, maybe we can dive in on breakdown of types of BTC. By the way, you're still screen sharing.
Yeah, I know. I thought it would be cool to see behind the scenes.
Yeah.
Here's how we manage our tasks.
Sure.
Hopefully, we don't have any passwords or anything on that screen. I don't think so.
We've got a breakdown of different types of wrapped Bitcoin, right?
Yes, we do. You mean these ones, right?
Yeah, we got a question in the chat about if TBTC overtook wrapped Bitcoin. Yeah, I assume they mean WBTC. To which the answer is no, it looks like.
Yeah, so actually someone asked about TBTC recently, and last time I checked, the market cap was still very low. So we haven't actually included it into the dashboard. We probably should, but I mean, if you just look at something like Etherscan to get a quick sense of the market cap, it doesn't show the historical view or anything like that. It's less than 2,000 Bitcoins. We have here, and so if you compare that, they'd be way down here. It's basically they'd be, among the smallest Bitcoin tokens. So we didn't actually include them yet, but maybe we should. It's the second person that asked about this in like 2 weeks, so maybe we should add it.
You can toss that one on the kite maker as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, Dennison in the chat makes a good point. Yes, 2,000 Bitcoin is 40 million, so it is significant. I guess it's just a question of scale on large numbers here.
Yeah, it's definitely not peanuts. That's true. It's a significant amount, but it's still a lot less than wrap Bitcoin, which is like 115,000.
Yeah,
So
I guess one value of tracking it could be, although I'm just thinking out loud here, but I think on TBTC they have shield mining or something in partnership with Nexus Mutual. So, just any kind of sources of potential alpha would be good to track, and maybe people can see that TBTC is, or maybe there'd be a way to get some on-chain connection between TBTC stakers, shield mining stakers and TBTC.
Yeah, actually, I'm not sure do we have TBTC here? We do, but it might be an older version because TBTC has been around for a while, and I think they had a first sort of alpha version, and then they released a new version of it. So again, like this is live streaming, so who knows that this is going to actually show something useful. But we should have it here. I think this might be this is definitely the old version, right? Sushi swap, or is it? Yeah, I guess it is. This is probably the old TBTC. Seems very low, right?
Yeah.
And the last transactions were like December 15th or so. Well, I mean, yeah, who knows? Maybe we can look into this later. I'll just close my Discord briefly.
Second feature request here, live. On this token god mode chart or table dashboard, could we get circulating supply for tokens?
Okay, this is a good discussion actually, or a good point to talk about, because circulating market cap is not really well defined. I mean, you have circulating market cap on services like CoinGecko and CoinMarketCap, and if you look at CoinGecko, if you look at any token, let's say, I don't know, let's take Axie Infinity or something like that. Let's see, that didn't work. So when you look at the market cap and then fully diluted and then circulating supply, which is what decides the market cap effectively, there's this little question icon. And I think the way CoinGecko does this, they just simply speak to the team, or they research the documentation of the project, and then they sort of indicate manually which addresses should not be counted in the circulating supply. But this is actually something that is subject to debate, I would say, for the different projects. So all this to say that there's kind of two reasons why we don't have it. Number one is you have to, in a practical manner, indicate what are the addresses that don't count as circulating for a specific token. But that's doable. It's just more work that we haven't really done yet. And the other part is, how do you actually decide that in a consistent way? And in many cases, I think you can sort of argue with the fact the method they've used to decide if something is circulating or not. So for a token like Link, Chainlink, there's these developer wallets, right? Node operators wallet, developers wallet. Like how do we know that these can't be? And I'm not dunking on Link or anything like that, but in general terms, how do we know that these can't be just sent out? So it's not always clear what should count as circulating or not.
Okay.
And that's really why we don't have it. What we have in token god mode, if you look at the bottom, or we can pick some of these other ones. If you look at the bottom here, is what we call total market cap. And that basically is just how many tokens have been minted, and then multiply that with the price.
Got it. Okay.
So that's what we have today, and like that's kind of the reason why we don't have a circulating cap. But if it's something that a lot of people want, maybe we should try adding it and then coming up with some methodology to decide what counts as circulating and what does not.
All right, maybe that'll be a 2021 feature.
Yeah,
Moving on to the next topic here, I guess still somewhat related to Bitcoin all-time highs. Was there anything notable in the stablecoin tracker?
that's a great question. Let's see if I have it here. There we go. Stablecoin master. So this is, we just had a brief look at this before we started the call. So we track a couple of things. We track net exchange flow, which effectively means if there's more stablecoins coming into exchanges than going out in net terms. So incoming is there, it's kind of green, and the red is outgoing. So it's green because it tends to increase the price if there's a lot of stable coins coming into exchanges because they're chasing Bitcoins or Ether or other tokens for that matter. And then it's red, if there's stable coins going out of the exchange because they're obviously not going to be used to buy other crypto assets then. And so you can see in the last few days, it's pretty small here. Maybe we should not have the full year, but it does give you an idea of the trends. In the last couple of days, there's been net inflows to exchanges. So December 15 had $130 million worth of stablecoins come in. December 16 had 50 million. And so, could that help explain or describe why the price has been going up in Bitcoin and so on? I think it's not that clear right here. Maybe if we looked at gross volumes, it would be more clear. But at least in net terms, it wasn't very obvious that this would sort of imply this massive move on Bitcoin, for example, I would say. And yeah, we also have this breakdown, right, of the different exchanges. So Binance actually had a bit of outflow. Huobi had a pretty large inflow of stable coins. And Uniswap as well had a large inflow, and so on and so forth. And yeah, we've also got these like breakdowns of the different stablecoin assets on the different exchanges. And you can also see number of transactions. You can see active senders. So this one is kind of interesting though. I mean, you saw a spike in number of recipients for USDC in the last couple of days. That's been fluctuating quite a bit, actually. So effectively 43,000. Oh, sorry, this is senders, my bad. Senders of USDC, like 36, 37,000 addresses sending USDC in the last few days. And it jumped quite a bit from December 6th.
Yeah. Do you think that could imply that people are sending to exchanges, or since we saw those inflows?
Yeah, honestly, I feel like we should probably have some other metrics that sort of talk specifically to where these funds are going. I mean, we do track the inflow and outflow up here, but for example, if we could have some breakdown that shows, these addresses, what percentage of those sent to exchanges, for example, perhaps that would have been useful. So it's kind of hard to see right now, like some of the stuff you sort of need to triangulate around to spot.
Mm-hmm.
I just want to mention one thing that I find kind of funny. There's this PAX chart, which is the blue one here. I'm trying to get the marker away. It was growing pretty fast for a little while, and actually in early 2020, there were actually more addresses sending PAX than USDC. And the reason was actually because it was used in a Ponzi scheme. And so I investigated this a bit, and it turns out there's this MMMBSC, I think it's called, Ponzi scheme, and PAX was the main token used in that. And as that Ponzi scheme unwound, the number of addresses actively using PAX has just plummeted. So now
Isn't
there's
PAX one of the more regulated ones?
yeah, I mean it is. I think it is regulated by the New York Department of Financial Services, like USDC, if I'm not mistaken.
Interesting.
So it is kind of unusual that this Ponzi would have chosen to use PAX, but they did, and I guess as far as I know, PAX didn't actively freeze any assets related to this Ponzi scheme, but who knows? Maybe they try to reach out to them behind the scenes and just got them to stop using it or supporting it for a while. I'm not sure, or maybe the Ponzi scheme just collapsed. But it's pretty interesting to see how it sort of looked like PAX was getting a lot of traction, and then it turned out it was just this sort of very unsustainable driver underlying it.
Yeah, yeah. That story is probably replicated in a lot of different crypto assets of
Yep.
fake usage from uh, nefarious places. On the topic of stablecoins, maybe we can real quickly pull up the smart money dashboard and pull up the volatility indicator, the
Oh yeah.
volatility gauge.
Let's look at this. Yeah, since last time we actually had a lot of people reach out. Maybe you know more about this than me, but we had a lot of people reach out to get access to smart money. So now we
Hmm.
have users that are actually using it since last time, right?
Yeah, yeah, and then we'll do a broader rollout pretty soon, before the end of the year for sure.
Right. So this is the one you were interested in, right?
Yeah, yeah. So it looks like in the past few days, the percentage of stable coins held in smart money wallets has decreased.
Yeah, since here, yeah, that's right. From December
Yeah,
9th, it's gone down to, yeah, basically it's gone from like 45 to 39. That's right.
yeah. It's interesting. There was a bit of a spike in stable coins there. We're still kind of, brainstorming how exactly this chart can be useful. I think broadly it is useful. Like this idea that the percentage of stablecoins decreased over the past couple of days in potential anticipation for this price movement. But yeah, I wouldn't say it's 100% indicative yet of any major moves.
Yeah, it's also a question of sort of refining it to get enough wallets into this before it becomes like useful and less noisy as a signal on
Hmm.
its own. So as we've indicated at the top here, like this is still an alpha, and so yeah, as you say, Daniel, we're still working on making this as good as possible. I think the concept makes sense though. You'd want to know how much assets are actually held in basically US dollars versus um, sort of directional assets like BTC, Ether, and tokens. So I think conceptually it makes sense, and then we'll see over time if it actually proves valuable as a signal.
Yeah. All right. Well, maybe we can transition now onto the next topic, which is related to smart money, but it's our smart alerts. So
Oh
smart
yeah,
alerts are something that we've been playing around with for a little while, but now we're kind of getting right to we're right at the cusp of rolling them out. So maybe we can talk a little bit about that, and you can share some thoughts on how we view smart alerts and how they'll be useful for people.
yeah. I was thinking about just showing what it actually looks like now. This involves opening my Discord, so I just need to make sure that no one's messaging me at the same time. Um, but high level, what we're trying to do is the information that you see in the smart money dashboard. Many people want to get that information delivered to them in a timely manner, and so these smart money alerts are basically there to, uh, effectively real time notify you when certain smart money wallets are making transactions. So we've set this up internally to just monitor this, and we're sort of experimenting and iterating a bit on how to display the information in a easy to digest manner. And so I think I could just try to show my screen. Um, let's see how this goes. So you can see my screen now, right?
Hmm.
So this is what it kind of looks like, behind the scenes for us right now. If you scroll up, you will see, okay, smart money alerts, a new smart money transaction, and then it has a link to Etherscan transaction, this address, which is not labeled, that's why you see the whole address spelled out, sent 30 something Ether to 3 Arrows Capital. And then it links to the 3 Arrows Capital wallet profiler in Nansen so that you can, investigate that specific address. And by the way, we've made some improvements on the wallet profiler as well.
So that transition.
Yeah, maybe since we're here, we can have a quick look at that too. So first of all, we have cleaner labels now. You don't have these messy long strings of like tons of different labels. Instead, we've actually, when you have multiple labels, we've written them out here in the all labels section, so you can like click through these. So this right away tells you this is 3 Arrows Capital, and then over here you can see there's a fund. It's a millionaire in ETH holdings, high balance, high activity, and DEX trader. So the labels are a bit improved now, but you also have this activity all time view, which we think is useful because in the past, when we looked at the wallet profiler, you have these time of day activity and day of week, and they're quite useful to understand, which entity is behind a certain wallet. But you didn't have any sense of time, in like chronologically. You didn't know when this wallet was created or how long it's been active. And so this activity all time just shows when it was active. So this is an address that effectively was first used January 2019, and then it's been increasingly used, and it was used heavily over the DeFi summer when it was doing up to 100 transactions sent per day. And then it's still being used, right? You can see today, is it December 16th today? I should know this. Yes.
Yeah.
December 16th, it has done 27 transactions just today. So it's still being used. So this part has been improved a bit, in my opinion. I think it's a lot nicer now. And the rest of the wallet profiler dashboard is still the same. So that shows the incoming Ether, 500,000 worth of, or 500,000 Ether coming from other 3 Arrows Capital wallets. And then 135,000 of those going to other 3 Arrows Capital addresses, but also some of it being deposited to Binance, Huobi, Bitfinex, Gate.io, OKX, and so on. So yeah, this is just one view. You also have these improved labels here, or names as we call them, in the table. So it's a bit easier to just skim through and see, hey, that's a smart money wallet, that's another smart money wallet, because it has the little nerd icon or emoji. So that's pretty good. So these are some small tweaks. Definitely let us know what you think, if this is an improvement.
Yeah, a quick note on the labels. So if you ever need to look up what a label means, we have those all available at docs.nansen.ai.
Yes.
And we also recently put up an FAQ for other questions that are frequently asked.
Yes, absolutely. So this is the one describing the labels. So you can just click on this, and it takes you to this table, and the table will basically show these things, and it shows the emojis, what they mean, for example.
Yeah. So let's bring it back to the smart alerts real quick. So what I guess there's another thing I wanted to flag in that list that you were showing, which is the custom alerts. So maybe we can talk a little bit about smart money alerts, which is alerts that we're curating versus custom alerts that a user can potentially curate. What's the kind of timeline on each of these different features, and how do they work in tandem moving forward?
So we're rolling out smart money alerts for all customers before Christmas, hopefully quite soon. And the smart money alerts feed is going to be pretty, like it's going to be sort of a fire hose, like a lot of stuff coming through. But some people want to set specific custom alerts. And so we are working with some beta customers on effectively having them filter down like specific entities or addresses they care about, or even like threshold amounts and specific assets or tokens that they're interested in. And so those are going to be basically channeled into their own custom Discord channels. So we don't have a specific timeline for when custom alerts will be broadly available, but we are working with some trial customers on this right now. So that's kind of the status on those two things. Just to show you as well, like here's an example custom alert for newbie.eth. This is actually already, or it's been available for a little while under Nansen Smart Alerts, just for newbie.eth, because we were sort of playing around with some technology for alerting. But now this is also being integrated into this new smart alerts system. And so you can see here, for example, newbie.eth getting almost 6,000 MTA tokens from this Sablier contract. And that's because MTA is distributing their vested tokens through Sablier. So you can click through on Etherscan and it takes you to this transaction, and it just shows you the MTA tokens coming from this Sablier contract to them. So I think this is like MTA's way of using Sablier to stream tokens to early investors, basically.
Nice. Okay, let's bring the chat to maybe we can talk a little bit about the exchange transparency initiative and working with exchanges to get wallet labels.
Yeah. So I tweeted about this week, and some people found this interesting. So this plot just shows specific entities in our database. And an entity could be exchanges, it could be projects, could be mining pools, could be funds, any real world entity that we can associate with specific addresses on the blockchain. So the x-axis shows how many wallets we have tracked. So that means that we have associated with very high precision to a specific entity. And the y-axis shows in USD terms how much Ether and tokens they hold. And so by tokens, we also include stablecoins. So to be specific, if you hover over this one, you might not be able to read it with the resolution, but this says entity Binance. And so this is Binance as an entity. And this chart shows me that we have more than 2.6 million wallets tracked for Binance. And these entities or these addresses collectively hold more than $5 billion worth of crypto assets, on Ethereum. Of course, they hold more on other blockchains like Bitcoin and other blockchains, but this is on the Ethereum assets at least. We also have Huobi here, where we have more than 1.5 million addresses, and they hold nearly $3 billion worth of ETH and tokens. We see Bittrex, which holds less assets, but we still track 1.8 million. Bittrex was very big in 2017, and it basically has lost quite a lot of market share since then. So that's maybe one reason why it holds less assets today.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Kraken is another example where we have almost 500,000 addresses, and it holds more than $1.5 billion worth of ETH and tokens. Then there are some extreme ones. For example, this one over here, which is Chainlink. So this is not an exchange, it's Chainlink, the project. And they actually hold tons of link tokens. And this is what I was showing you at CoinGecko, because there's a lot of these developer addresses, and we have associated these with the Chainlink entity. And basically they hold more than $7 billion worth of Chainlink tokens, which makes them the richest entity on the Ethereum blockchain.
That's pretty crazy.
Yeah, it's definitely very crazy.
Yeah. So in terms of these are all wallets that we have labeled algorithmically or through other methods. One thing that we'd like to do is work directly with some exchanges to validate some of these wallets. We have pretty high confidence score on the majority, like whatever 99+% of these wallets, but just to get that added extra margin of certainty. So if any of you guys know exchanges who are looking to be more transparent, feel free to send them our way, and we're happy to work with them.
Yeah. So just to add to that, so it's impossible to have 100% accuracy with the methods that we use. Algorithms that we develop, heuristics, manual investigations that we do to make sure we have all the cold wallets and so on. And so working with exchanges directly would ensure that we have ground truth data and we have 100% coverage for the exchanges in question. So it's definitely, there's a strong incentive for exchanges to do this, because when we rank exchanges based on how much assets they hold, for example, in token god mode, they'll basically climb on the rankings if they ensure that we have all the addresses that they actually control. So it's in the exchange's best interest, basically, to make sure that Nansen contains all their addresses. So if you work with an exchange or at an exchange, or if you're somehow partner with exchanges, definitely send them our way, and we can make sure that we have all of their addresses tagged up correctly.
Yeah. Moving on from this, maybe we can talk a bit about the trending tokens.
Yeah. So trending tokens is something we're also hopefully going to roll out before Christmas. And the idea is that when you go to the homepage for Nansen, it currently is very, very boring. It just shows the most popular dashboards to get started. It has this video of me talking about Wi-Fi before Wi-Fi was big, of course, back in the day. And yeah, but we do want to make this landing page when you log in much more personalized and much more engaging and much more useful. So trending tokens is going to be a very simple feature we add in, where you simply see what tokens other users have been looking at in the last 7 days. So again, we're testing a lot of these features internally before we ship them. So we had a quick look at some of the trending tokens before we went on this live stream. I don't know if you have it easily available there, Daniel, to just read up what some of the top ones were.
Yeah. So at the top was Wi-Fi, but then there was Aave, Rook, ESD, Badger, Cover, Sushi, RGT, SFI, Comp, Acro, Hegic, Basis, MPH, and Perp were the top recent ones.
Yeah. So there's kind of a cool aspect to this, because I would argue that Nansen users are probably very high up in sophistication compared to a lot of the money that's chasing tokens out there. And so in a way, you get kind of like a meta smart money view by aggregating what Nansen users are doing and what they're looking at. And so I think this is going to be a very powerful feature when we roll it out, where collectively alpha is being generated by the Nansen users themselves. So I think we were looking at one of these, I think it was Rook, maybe, that you can see in token god mode. I think most people on this live stream have seen token god mode before, so I won't go too much into details on that. But you can see Rook tokens being transacted between different wallets, and most of them are labeled quite nicely. So Uniswap pools, ENS names, some behavioral labels like high activity or elite dex trader. By the way, was elite dex trader rolled out last time we did office hours? That might be a new label as well.
No, I don't think so.
Cool. Well, that's another new thing. I think we should we should add to our docs page.
I think it's on there.
Oh, okay, cool. We should have a section that actually lists the new features, because right now we're kind of just pushing stuff out and we aren't really communicating like all the new things that we're rolling out. There's a lot of new features being rolled out all the time. But we've revamped our DEX trader segments, and they now take into consideration volume as well. It used to be the case that it only looked at the number of trades you'd made, and now we also consider volume. So if you traded a handful of times on DEXs, but you were trading millions of dollars, you'd then get typically assigned to the heavy DEX trader segment, for example, instead of the casual DEX trader, which we used to have. And so now there are 4 different segments of DEX traders. The sort of lowest tier is just DEX trader. So it just says DEX trader. That's it, the simple one. Then the next level up, which is it's based on this matrix of volume and frequency. I won't go too much into the details now, but it should be in the docs. The next one will be medium DEX trader. So we still have medium DEX trader, but now it takes into consideration the volume that you've traded as well. Then the third level is heavy DEX trader. And then the top level is elite DEX trader. And so elite DEX trader means that you're in the top 1% on both volume traded as a DEX trader and frequency, so the number of trades that you've made. So these are very often programmatic or like bots, ARB bots and so on. You can see this one is actually a contract because it has this robot icon, and it has the elite DEX trader icon there. So yeah, that was just a bit of a segue there to the DEX trader segments too, so you're informed on the status there. Yeah, but you can check out Rook. You can check out all the different tokens that we were discussing earlier. In a new version of these dashboards, we'll make it a bit easier for you to just click through on the trending tokens, so you don't have to, in the token god mode itself, go through this long list of tokens and just dig around for it here. There should be a better way to see this, where you can actually just see here are the trending tokens as suggestions, and you can investigate those through a discovery process where Nansen actually helps you surface those.
Speaking of investigations, maybe we can wrap up the call discussing the recent Nexus mutual issue. And
so let me refresh the dashboards, because I think we added some labels here in the background. So to be honest, I haven't actually spent that much time looking into what happened, but many people have been talking about this on Twitter, and I think there was something like 370,000 NXN tokens that were basically taken or fished from one of the founders. So let me just run a couple of dashboards here in the background. First of all, we have the co-founder's address. I mean, he was obviously he shared his address because this happened to him, and he needs help trying to find out who did this and how they can recover the funds. So we've labeled them up. We don't normally label individuals this way, but when they're public about it, we are happy to do that. So you can see, you can run his address through Wallet Profiler, and you can see, I think if you go through the transactions, let's see if we can see anything here. You can click on the different columns to sort, and you can see ETH volume. You can see here Nexus Mutual Hacker 2. So there was an ETH transaction that went into this wallet, and I think this was actually when they sent a message to this address, which I'm not going to go into here. You can probably find more info about it on Twitter. But they basically sent a message to Hugh Carp. But you can see some of the addresses that he interacted with, and you can also look at the hacker itself. So same thing here. You can investigate which addresses that they've been interacting with. So looking at Ether volume, it looks like they've been using Tornado Cash, for example. They've been using both the 100 ETH pool. They've done 13 transactions to the Tornado Cash 100 ETH pool, and they've done one transaction to the 10 ETH pool. They've also been trading in the Uniswap wrapped Nexus Mutual pool. So there are some tokens going out. I would guess that that means that they basically sold those tokens. So we can have a look at that briefly. I'll just do a quick shortcut here. Let's see if this works. I'll run that in the background. I'm just spinning up the wallet profiler for this specific token for wrapped Nexus Mutual. So again, you see the address name, the Nexus Mutual Hacker 2, because they have several addresses. And you will soon see some information about their holdings. So they still hold a bit of tokens. It's only one data point, so the time series looks a bit weird. But basically today, 9,809 WNXM tokens. And then here you see the transaction. So 50,000 came from another Nexus Mutual Hacker 1 address. And some more came from another DEX trader. So maybe this one we should label Nexus Mutual Hacker, but it could also be that it was a DEX trade. And in that case, it's not necessarily associated with with this address. No, it was not a DEX trade though. If you click through on the link on the transaction, you can see that this was a direct transaction from one address to this one. So interesting. And then these 3,000 batches here to Elite DEX Trader, that's probably DEX trades. So if we click through on this one, you will see indeed that they were swapping 3,000 WNXM for 80 Ether on 1inch. We want to, by the way, include some of this information directly in our interface so that you can distinguish what are DEX trades and what are just normal transfers, what are liquidity pool provisioning transactions, and so on and so forth. But for now, like, this kind of does the job. It just shows at least the counterparty that they were transacting with, and we have links so you can look them up on Etherscan.
Mm-hmm.
So you know, we haven't actually investigated this. This is the first time I'm looking at this. So you know, we do think Nansen is quite useful for investigations though. So if you want to look into as a complement to Etherscan, I think Nansen is really useful for investigating stuff like this. So you know, if anyone is watching and is interested in this, feel free to play around with these Nexus Mutual Hacker addresses and see if you maybe discover something that other people have not discovered yet.
One thing that jumped out at me earlier when I just briefly pulled up Token God mode for WNXM was in the top transfers recently. You could like the top ones were from the Nexus Mutual Hacker.
Oh yeah, okay, cool. But let's have a look at that actually. Got too many tabs. Okay. Yeah, there we go. So now we're in WNXM, right? So balance changes. Biggest change, Nexus Mutual Hacker 1. You're absolutely right. Days since first received 2. So this is like the weather report for WNXM, right? You come in here and you're like, what's been going on? And you see right away Nexus Mutual Hacker. Okay, that's probably something to be aware of. Mm-hmm. Also the other one, Nexus Mutual Hacker 2. And you can see the top transactions here too. So yeah, I guess, so when someone asked about this, when you see 0 address, what does that mean? So maybe we can clarify that too, since this is office hours after all. The 0 address corresponds to the 0, literally the address that has all zeros. And this address is often used for token transactions of different sorts. So typically it's used for minting and burning. And so when you see 370,000 WNXM from 0 address to somewhere else, that indicates that there was a minting of tokens. And since it's the wrapped NXM tokens, I can only guess that they somehow were basically actually performing the wrapping action. So they had NXM tokens, and then they were able to wrap the tokens, which means that they're minting them. So it's the same with wrapped Bitcoin. If you see WBTC from zero address, that means that WBTC is being minted. And conversely, if you see wrapped tokens going to the zero address, that means they're being burnt.
Got it.
Yeah. And you can probably see this here. I don't think you can actually. Well, if you look at, no, you can't really see it clearly on Etherscan what's happening, but that's what I would assume is going on.
Question for maybe it's another kind of feature request on this table, or on the one above, on the balance changes, I guess, or balance changes.
This one,
Do you think it would make sense to aggregate any of these balances by entity? So, for example,
yeah.
we have like a separate table that just shows all of the money flowing into. I guess we have it here, but this is just exchanges. So
This is just exchanges. That's right. Yeah. So you want to see something like this, but for beyond exchanges, right?
yeah. Although I guess
Yeah.
this kind of answers it.
Yeah. No, it's a good suggestion. We talked about having exchanges and also like DeFi platforms like Compound and so on. But maybe we should just have it for any entity. Maybe that would be easier.
Yeah.
Typically, though, I think you do want to create specific tables for specific types of entities. Like exchanges is something that's very well defined and people care about it a lot. So we might not want to sort of displace this with your suggestion, but rather add a broader sort of entity tracking, right?
Mm-hmm. On the topic of exchanges, we got a question in the chat from Dennison, who asked, sorry, not Dennison, from where was it? From Chris.eth, and he asked about Bancor v2.1 exchange contracts. Maybe we can chat just briefly about Uniswap, Bancor, SushiSwap exchange contracts and LP tokens and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I think we've been a bit behind on Bancor. It's not as much used as Uniswap and SushiSwap, but definitely happy to add that as a feature request, and I think we should be able to ship that relatively quickly for Bancor.
Perfect. Does anyone have any? If anyone has any questions, feel free to message them in the chat real quick, and then other than that, we'll probably start wrapping up. Was there anything else that you wanted to chat about this week, Alex?
No, I think we covered a lot of different things actually, but we can give the viewers the chance to send in any questions they have now.
Yeah, it doesn't look like any questions are coming in. So yeah, let's start wrapping it up there. As mentioned at the beginning, all of these videos are saved on our YouTube channel, so you can always go back there and check them out, or actually you can just come back to this same link and the recording will be listed here. We are always open to new feature requests, new investigation requests, new ideas, anything like that. So feel free to pop into our Discord to connect with the team and discuss with the other Nansen explorers. Anything else, Alex?
That's it. Thanks for joining, everyone.
All right. Catch you guys next week.